This creamy mung bean curry or mung masala is a wholesome Indian vegetarian dish to enjoy with roti. It's super thick and cooked with an aromatic paste of ginger, green chilli and coriander. The star of the show is a tadka of crispy fried garlic, which goes on right at the end. To make this dish, we first need to wash and soak the mung beans. An essential step when preparing any type of lentils, beans or pulses is to wash them thoroughly and soak them. Washing removes any surface dirt and soaking softens the beans to make them more digestible. It's a good idea to change out the water a couple of times, topping up with fresh water and continuing to clean until the water runs fairly clear. I'm choosing to use the hot soak method for my beans, and this is the one that I go to more often, and it simply refers to soaking the beans in hot water with a pinch of baking soda, also known as bicarbonate of soda, added to it. The combination of hot water and baking soda creates the perfect soaking conditions. It encourages the beans to soften quickly and cook quickly later. For this recipe, if you can't get your hands on mung beans, then it is entirely possible to make it with green lentils, also called green masoor or moth beans. Soak the beans for 30 minutes. The basis for this mung bean curry is a hot and aromatic green chilli paste. I like to pound Indian green chillies, also known as jwala chillies, garlic, ginger and juicy coriander stems in a pestle and mortar. They bruise to a coarse pulp, and that's all you really need for this. If you like, you can use a blender or a grinder, but my inner Indian grandma tells me it tastes so much better when you bash it by hand. Heat some ghee in a pan and then add in some cumin seeds. Some asafoetida, also known as hing, and this also needs to be sizzled in the hot ghee. Next up, we're going to throw in our green aromatic paste and cook that out for a couple of minutes over a medium-ish heat. Mung beans and any lentils in general are a fantastic blank canvas for any kinds of flavours that you might want to cook them with. Next up, we will add a chopped fresh tomato for a zip of tang. You can also use tinned tomatoes if you don't have fresh, or even a squidge of tomato paste. It's important to cook this out for a couple of minutes, just until the tomatoes start to thicken up a little bit. Once the tomatoes get to this stage, drain your mung beans and add them in. Since they've had their nice hot water soak, they're not going to take too much time to cook. The baking soda water has softened the skins really beautifully. Give this a really good stir and then top it up with some boiling hot water. I've heard stories of my grandmother inspecting everybody's bean and lentil dishes to ensure that they never add cold water to their dish and rather top it up with boiling hot water. She used to say "Thotra thei jai," which in Gujarati means that they will turn into hard pellets. Bring this to a boil, cover with a tight-fitting lid and simmer for around 30 to 40 minutes until the beans have softened. You'll be able to find a link to the full recipe with all of the ingredients and measurements you'll need in the description box below. Once the beans are lovely and soft, we are going to add in some ground spices. I have here some cinnamon, turmeric and some salt, and it's important to add the salt after the beans have cooked, not before. Finally, some kasuri methi, and then begin to beat this with a balloon whisk until it's thick and creamy. Beating breaks some of the beans down, encourage some of the starches to come out, and then the whole thing becomes really luxurious and velvety. And the point here is not to break the beans down entirely. We do want some fabulous texture in there, but we also want the curry to be nice and cohesive, and more like a curry than a dal. You'll notice I added in a little bit of hot water to adjust the consistency here, and you'll find that the dal begins to thicken a lot more as it stands. It's basically like a sponge, so be sure to adjust the consistency with water, and if you would like this to be a dal, then just add some more water. This is exactly how I like mine. It still has that coarse beany texture, but is perfectly scoopable for roti. Now that the mung beans are cooked, we're going to add the final touch to this dish, which is a very lovely garlic tadka. Slice your cloves of garlic into very fine, wafer thin pieces, so thin that you can practically see through them. Once they're ready, heat some ghee in a small pan and allow it to become smoking hot. A small pinch of cumin seeds. Turn the heat down and then add in the garlic. Garlic and mung beans really are the best of friends, and this dish is one of the most delicious ways to cement their union. With the heat turned down to low, continue to stir this, moving the garlic around all the time to ensure that it browns evenly. We want it to be a very pale golden colour, not too dark at all, because once we take it off the heat, it's going to continue to cook and the garlic will darken, and we don't want it to turn bitter. If you're worried about it cooking too quickly, you can always switch the heat off and allow the tadka and the garlic to cook in the residual heat. This is almost ready, and I cannot wait to pour this all over that creamy Moong curry that we made. It smells incredible. I wish you could smell it through your screen. Unfortunately you can't, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Some fresh coriander leaves just for colour and freshness. And that's it, we are ready to pour our aromatic garlic and ghee tadka all over our creamy, delicious Moong curry. Are you ready? Let's do it. Scoop this up with your favourite Indian breads. I like mine with roti, but you can also enjoy it with paratha or naan. Full link to the recipe is in the description box below, and if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to do that. Please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time with a new recipe.